Welcome to the Health Conscious Living Podcast. I'm Dr. Gayle Myers, and today my special guest is Nicole Lanni. Nicole is a certified nutritionist and health coach, functional bloodwork specialist, master NLP trainer, and hypnotherapist. She is the founder of Cellular Health and Wellness, where she helps people frustrated with their health to heal at a cellular level through nutrition, cellular detoxing, functional blood work, and nutritional DNA profiles. After being exposed to toxic mold over 20 years ago, she suffered from severe bronchitis and autoimmune issues leading to hospitalization. Years of suffering and exhausting medical and holistic resources, she got to the root cause of her symptoms and healed herself at a cellular level, then went even further and used her DNA to create a health blueprint to turn off genes of the health conditions she is predisposed to, such as Alzheimer's, heart disease, and even addiction. After a few short months with nutrition and supplements, she regained 20 years of lost health. Through doctors' referrals and client recommendations, Nicole has helped over 5,000 clients reduce their inflammation, which is the leading cause of most diseases. Nicole has been featured in This Is LA and CBS News. She is an author and speaker on over 100 stages to include topics on women's empowerment, health and nutrition, inflammation, and releasing negative thoughts and emotions. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, Gayle. I'm so excited to be here today.
Oh, it's great to have you. You have been on quite a journey, inspiring to say the least. So tell us about your healing journey and how it led you to become a cell specialist.
Well, my journey started over 20 years ago. I moved to California and I moved into this cute little house with my kids and my husband. And we just wanted to get acclimated, you know, when you move into a new area. And unfortunately, that house had some water leaks in the walls that nobody was aware of, and there was toxic mold throughout the house. So unfortunately, my immune system was a little compromised. I'd gone through chemo and had quite the health journey prior to that. So my immune system was a little weakened. And unfortunately, that toxic mold, that Stachybotrys, actually got into my lungs. That's where the crazy started.
Yes. So what happened?
I went through, a year of just being truly sick and then trying to figure out exactly how to get this out of my lungs. I had had a couple of bronchoscopies. They were trying to get, they didn't know how to get this out. They just knew where it was. And so on the third surgery, I think my body just said enough. I literally did not wake up from that surgery. And I was in a coma for a little over 4 months. I think my body obviously needed to rest. And I think there was more in store for me when I decided to wake up.
Yes, and you did. Thank goodness. So tell us about waking up.
That probably was such a life-changing moment because you're almost renewed. I don't know how to, it's just something in you. You have a new chance on life. It's really like, okay, what is my purpose? And my first question to my doctor was, what do I need to do to live? I have teenagers at home. I have a family. I have things to do. I didn't know what those things were, but I knew I had things to do.
Yeah.
And I think his response to me was probably one of the most profound moments in my life, where he gave me the advice that I hold on to, I think, every single day.
And what was that?
Well, he told me I needed a few things to live. And this is exactly how he said it to me. He said, Nicole, I think you're of Christian faith, but I'm not sure. He says, I don't care if you pray to a damn cat or a rock or God or whatever you believe in. He says, but I need you to magnify that by 10. And he says, once you've done that, take a few breaths. And then I need you to magnify that by 100, because you have to have faith and believe that you are going to get better. That is the number one thing you need. You have to have that. And he says, the second thing you need is me. And he says, and I'm not saying that as ego with my ego. I'm saying that because I have put a team of doctors around the country that have been working on you because this is so unusual and we want to help you get better. And he said, so I want you to remember that doctors are practicing medicine and we don't have all the answers. He says, but the good doctors look for the answers and they continue and they continue and they don't give up. And we're humble because we know that we don't have all the answers. He says, when you find doctors that are humble and they don't let their ego involve, then you found the right team of doctors. Mm. He says, so you need me. And the third thing you need is some holistic health alternative things that we need to start doing ASAP, because I don't believe everything I can do to fix you is in this hospital. It was pretty amazing. What does that mean? I was like in the dark, like, what does that mean? Holistic alternative, woo-woo stuff. I was like, and he said, well, I think we should start with yoga. Instead of physical therapy, he says, because that will connect your mind and your body together. He says, I think that a hyperbaric chamber is definitely in order with all the research I've been doing. I think nutrition is a big part of this. He says, if we start taking out foods, anything that contributes to mold, that will probably help your whole system. He says, so I think this is going to be a little puzzle, but let's go for it and let's get you better. I live by those words every day.
Oh my goodness. It's such wisdom that we can all live by, actually. And that was in 2001. So not a lot was known. And he was a pulmonologist.
He's a pulmonologist. Yeah.
And is he still practicing?
Unfortunately, he passed away. He was older. And what was interesting is he was older at the time. He was in his 70s at the time. So he wasn't a spring chicken, right? Like, and like eager to learn new things. Like he was very like, this is what you need. And he was very, what I'm like, let's just pause.
And he knew enough of integrative medicine to know the importance of it. And was he the first person you saw when you woke up?
He was.
Oh, amazing.
He was in my room. And so
how did he respond when you woke up? Because it had been 4.5 months.
I think he was in total shock.
Like, whoa, she's back.
Yeah. I'll never, it was such an amazing moment where all of a sudden here was this man who'd been caring for me for all these months, truly researching and putting people together. And I think I had perplexed him. And so I love that he never gave up on me, because I think some physicians after 3-4 months would come in, check the chart, go away, and that would be it. Right. But he really cared. He wanted me to have my life.
So when you did have your life and you woke up and you saw him, what happened?
At that moment, like I said, I kind of knew I had a purpose at that moment. Mm-hmm. And I can't explain it. It's almost like a download that came in. Like I didn't know what it meant or what it was. But there was this sense of almost like a sense of calm. Mm-hmm. Like I'm going to be okay.
Yes.
I'm going to be okay. And it was quite the moment. Like sometimes it takes my breath away still like, and then I was like, okay, let's do this. Now my body wasn't thinking that quite right away, but my mind was thinking that right away. Yeah. And, as he started talking to me, he spent quite a bit of time with me over the next week. Like he spent hours of time with me. And some of the discussions we had and could I remember things or couldn't I, did I remember anything over those 4 months? And we had some really profound conversations.
I can imagine.
I'm forever grateful to have that. He really was like an angel. But
I was going to say, yes, definitely an angel.
He's an angel.
And you were an angel to him, because to have that experience as a physician is profound. Yeah. And, I speak a lot in just about every podcast episode about how we're spiritual beings having a human experience to learn, grow, and gain wisdom and share our gifts. And you just had that. I mean, that was truly a rebirth And so you came in and here you are and you have your download and the body has been asleep for 4.5 months. So now, speaking of soul body connection and having to work as a team to get you better.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened there and what happened from that point.
Just on the healing journey part of it. I mean, like I said, his wife was such a doll. She would come. And so he coordinated all this because we lived in the same town. His wife would come and she was older. She was like, not older, because I'm almost her age now. She was in her late 60s, and she would come and she'd pick me up and she'd take me to yoga. And, I just didn't have the physical everything. So I'd literally sit in the back of the room and just stretch, which was probably much better than any physical therapy that I did because I was surrounded by women.
Yes.
And I think that was a big part of my journey was I've learned over the years that surrounding myself with women is a very healing experience for me. And so I was surrounded by these women, not that men don't do yoga. There was just no men in my yoga class. And so, I would stretch and we would talk and sometimes we'd pray together and we would just have these amazing conversations. And sometimes it wasn't like, when I say pray together, sometimes it was just speaking to the universe and like putting out there what we wanted. And we had these conversations that this was such an enlightened couple, between her husband and herself. They really were they were my gift that was given to me was this couple. So, we had these conversations and I was in sales. I definitely was in sales all of my life because of them. And because of this rebirth, really a reawakening, I knew that there was something more. So I learned at that point, it was like, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening now. So what do I need to learn? What do I need to learn? Because I had no idea where my path was going to take me. I just knew that I was given a path. It was like, okay, here's your path. now go figure it out.
Yeah. Where's the map?
Right. There was no map. I felt like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. You just follow the yellow brick road and something is going to happen. That's going to be great. And you don't know if you're supposed to go right or left or what you're supposed to do, but this is your path. So here you go. I'm handing it to you. And you move forward. And I did. I took step by step. It took a couple of years before I actually felt decent and good, right? There was a lot of repair that your body has to go through and
Sure.
Connecting that mind and the body. It's interesting. It doesn't happen overnight. The physical part, it takes a while. I was in a bed for 4.5 months. My body was sleeping. And so, you had to learn how to just do life a little bit and do life a little differently. And my teenagers, oh boy.
Oh, I can imagine because you're different. Mm-hmm. You've had this near-death experience, for lack of better terminology, and a coma, a prolonged coma, and then you come back. It's like, oh, mom's back. How's mom today?
My kids were, of course they were so grateful. They, they wanted me to be alive, obviously.
Yes.
But I think I told, we were talking before and I think I told you about my son. He was going to a party one night. He asked me if he could go to a party after band. And I said, yes. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, no, you can't go to that party. And he's like, why? I'm like, you're grounded. And he's like, what am I grounded for? I haven't done anything. I've done my stuff. I've done, and I'm like, did you pierce your ears when I was in this coma? He said, yeah. I said, did you do it with safety pins? He said, yes. I said, were your ears like this big? And I said, purple and swollen. He said, yes. I said, that is not, no. We don't do those things. He says, Mom, you can't ground me for something that happened a year ago, because I'd have these memories of things that were happening in my hospital room because he had come to visit. The kids would come.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'd have these memories a year later, right? He's like, you can't ground me, Mom. That's not how parenting works. You can't ground me for something I did a year ago.
And he must have been kind of shocked that you knew You were in a coma, and yet you're like, wait a minute, that happened, right?
The parenting doesn't stop even when you're sleeping. There's the lesson.
That's profound also.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, kids beware, and parents, you get to keep parenting. Oh my goodness. Yes, your awareness was amazing of what you were aware of while you were sleeping.
Right. That's a new terminology to the movie, right? While you were
Yeah.
sleeping. So fast forward, I went on with life. I started a new career, what I thought I wanted to do. Well, no, it's not what I thought I wanted to do. I kind of said, like I said, I was in sales. So a friend of mine said, we used to do this. So why don't you sell real estate? Because you'd be great at real estate. And I hated every moment of it. It was not who I was. But it got me a step further in my path. But here's why. So I hate when you don't love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it takes so much away from you mentally and physically. And I would go to work every day and I'd pull up to the office and you'd see the real estate sign outside. And most realtors are like loud and proud, right? Like they're pretty outgoing and excited about what they do. And they're always going after that next sale, right? That's not who I was at that point. I had changed so much. And so I'd go to the office and I'd sit in my car and I'd literally cry because I didn't want to be there. I knew it wasn't my purpose and I didn't love it. And guess what? I ended up sick again. Because when you don't love what you do and you're not living your purpose and you're emotionally exhausted and you have all these things going on, all of a sudden all these symptoms and stuff comes back and it comes back. And the next thing you know is I was having heart issues. So I ended up having I did have a heart attack, and it was all due to inflammation. So that's where it stemmed from, was all the inflammation in my body. And I had a pity party for about 6 weeks. I sat on the couch because I didn't know, like, why, I eat well. I was giving myself all these things that I was supposedly doing, but I wasn't looking at the environment. I wasn't looking at all the stress. I wasn't looking at all the, how happy I was because I wasn't living my purpose. I was just going through the motions every day. Like I had to go to work. I had to make money. I had to take care of my family. That was what was in my mind. And I let all those signs that should have been rocket. Now I look going, oh my gosh, if that was me now, I had swollen ankles. I couldn't get a breath in for a few days. There was just so many things. I was fatigued. I was kind of miserable. And again, I had that pity party for about 6 weeks. And then the intervention happened again. So it took me to get sick, not once, but twice, for me to realize my purpose.
And well, yes. And after you survived cancer.
Yeah,
sarcoma.
exactly.
But at that point in the real estate sort of detour, we call it a detour.
It's a detour.
You had such a profound experience that you can't veer. It's like you knew it and you had to be on that path. But nobody, like you said, there was no roadmap, and your higher self GPS was there. And that's probably when you got the message. It was like, okay, that's it. What am I doing now? Is that what led you then to do the cellular work?
It got me there. And again, so that was in August 12th, 2011. So, 10 years later. Right. And my pity party on the couch, I'll never forget watching Oprah Winfrey, and a girlfriend called me and she said, I really want you to come to this vision board class that I'm going to tomorrow. And I said, why in the heck would I ever go to a vision board class? Like what? And she said, just come. Just trust me, because she knew me enough that I needed to be around women, and I needed to be out, and I needed to be off of my couch and, out of my misery, because I had really stuck myself in that box. So I went to this class, and again, I felt like the women healed me. As soon as I was around these women, I was like, I felt good. I felt excited. I felt, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I decided to take a vision board training. And that's where my life changed dramatically. And that's when I went, okay, now I think I know where my path is leading. And so I became like a certified vision board coach, but I became the vision board lady, because when I did vision boards for people, I took my NLP training that I had, and I took my intuitiveness that I naturally had, and I would hold up these boards and I would see things that weren't necessarily on the board. So my intuition was coming out. So I would do vision boards with people, and then I'd do these intuitive readings. So I became the vision board lady. And I thought, well, maybe that was my path. Maybe that was my path. Maybe I'm supposed to have insight and knowledge that I'm supposed to be, leading these women, because I was predominantly working with women. Maybe that's where I was supposed to do, was just do this vision board thing. But then all of a sudden I was literally walking across the street in a crosswalk one day, talking with another coach. And I said, I'm not just a vision board lady. Like, this is more, like, this is great. And this is a great tool to have, but there's more. And so I started speaking then I was like, and he's like, well, you're a great speaker. Let's get you into speaker training, and let's get you on stages, and let's, inspire women.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Like I had no idea. This path had no idea. So that's the path I took. And again, I had that download, like, there's more.
At that point, what was in your heart that was guiding you?
My doctor's words. I knew that people had to believe they were going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
They had to know that. And I thought, well, I have the mindset piece. I'm on stage and I'm talking to women all day long, right? I'm not a doctor, but I have a lot of wisdom at this point. And, from working on myself. And then I was like, there's a nutrition part. And I was like, oh, well, ding, ding, ding. Maybe that's the road, right? And so I did. I became a certified nutritionist. And I started coaching women more and more. I was coaching women, and I was supposed to be this life coach, because here I am on this stage and I'm promoting women's empowerment and life and this and that. And when I'm sitting there talking with them, it all came down to their well-being. I think that's really where it began, was like, this isn't just about, oh, you're having issues at work, or this is going on, or how do I change this in my life? I was looking at them very differently, going, who are you as a whole?
Yes.
Who are you as a whole? And so when I started working differently, I started asking little questions. I started working with food. I started realizing that mood and food go hand in hand.
Oh, yes.
And so that nutrition component was really, really strong. And I was still doing some hypnotherapy and NLP therapy and working with nutrition. And then I got this idea that I was supposed to open this wellness center and serve all kinds of people, right? Like, bring them in, build it and they will come. Well, they came, and then so did COVID.
Oh.
So my center was open for almost 7 years, and we had all kinds of amazing holistic alternative things in this wellness center. And then again, COVID happened, and I live in California. And so, it was one of those states where everything was pretty closed. So closing was a very hard thing. And for me, what follows, I have this pattern. I would go into that pity party. Even though I had all the tools, I still went into a pity party.
Well,
I was now closed down.
You're such a social person and connected. And it's interesting, because the previous podcast episode, the solo episode I just did, is on social connection and well-being, right, and how we are wired to be in tribes, mm-hmm, and how important it is, and all the different hormone production that happens when we get together and support each other, and how it helps longevity, and it helps prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and it helps prevent heart disease. And I mean, it's a pretty amazing piece of information that we now have, how important, right, it is for us to be connected. And
it's
so I think
important.
When we went into COVID isolation, I think it affected everyone differently, some more than others, because some of us more, introverts were kind of like, yeah, I kind of know this space. I had had 2 years of isolation after my accident that I really couldn't eat in crowds and I couldn't travel. And so it was a little bit familiar. But when you're like someone like you, who's like, she's a community oriented, hub.
It was awful. And I was depressed. I gained weight and I was trying to lose weight and I couldn't lose weight. And I would try to, my body was on fire. Like it was screaming at me. And I think when you have symptoms, that's really your body just trying to communicate with you. If anything, I try to teach my clients is when your body is screaming and your body says, hey, I have a swollen finger, that means that something's wrong with your finger. It's telling you there's something wrong with it. Right. So, but again, I was like, I had gone on I was like eating a Mediterranean diet. I was doing all the things, like healthy things, and I still wasn't losing weight. And I was actually gaining weight. Well, my cortisol was through the roof. I was so stressed out, and I was like, just miserable. I was just in this miserable state and depressed and isolated. And again, sickness brought me, clarity. I actually had a friend who kind of brought me out of the hole, and said, hey, look, you can do things virtually. You can do this, you can do that. You cannot, I know it's not the same as being in a room full of people, but you need to get yourself out there. And we went to our son's graduation. It's my husband's son. And we went to his college graduation and we took pictures. And when I looked at those pictures, I didn't even recognize myself. I was so inflamed. If you went on my Facebook page and looked at them, I encourage everybody to do that. You'll laugh. Like, it is terrible how badly I looked. I looked 20 years older. I was miserable. And all of a sudden I went, okay, I'm like a cat with 9 lives or something. Like, this is round 4. And so I was like, all right, my little grandson was talking the next week about cells. And that's when I went, all right, I'm listening. Because I got that as soon as he said the word cells and he's talking about amoebas and cells and science, something hit me that day, went, if my cells are unhealthy, and they're replicating themselves, well, those aren't healthy cells.
Right.
So how do I start healing more on the cellular level? Like, what's going on with me? And of course, you get those Facebook ads, you start talking, or you start typing things in and you get those Facebook ads. And of course, now I'm getting Facebook ads for cellular inflammation stuff. And I was like, okay, I need to know more. And so I went down the rabbit hole. And I actually did a program. And again, see, the universe gives you what you need. The universe really gives you what you need, because the program was okay. It was very expensive and it was okay. Thank goodness I have a nutrition background.
Yes.
And thank goodness I had a mindset background, because if I didn't, I probably would not have succeeded in this program. But the actual program itself, the bones of it were a good structure. And so I was like, great. I lost 40 pounds. I started feeling good. My skin looks good. I don't feel like I look like I'm almost 60. I think that I look pretty young and at this point, and rejuvenated and healthy. And I have more energy than most 20-year-olds these days. I have no more inflammation, which is like the key to, me being well.
Yes.
And I went to this company and I said, look, I know all these people. I work with women. I used to have this wellness center. What can we do to, partner? Crickets.
Huh.
And I was like, wait, I want to bring you people. Crickets. So business people, don't do that to people, because then you get somebody like me that was like, you know what? I can make this better and I can do this bigger and I want to do more and I want to help people get healthy. And I thought, your bones are great, but you need more. You need meat on those bones. And so I really put together a pretty hefty program for people, which is the mindset, the nutrition, how do you detox at that cellular level? And what does it look like afterwards, nutrition wise, using your DNA? And knowing that we can turn off those genes, like just because you inherit a specific genetic factor does not mean you inherit the disease. And I think that's where people get a little confused because they don't know about genetics and epigenetics and how it all works.
Mm-hmm.
And so I break it down pretty easy for them. And I basically say, look, just because your parents both had heart disease does not mean you're going to have heart disease. It means you have the genetic susceptibility to have heart disease. But we now have the key. Once you know that, we have the key. So it's like a stove. You can turn it off and on. So if you take the right supplements for your body and you do the right things for your, get the toxins out of your life and you start living the lifestyle and eat the foods that are good for you, whatever that genetic predisposed is, then you can literally turn off that gene. So people ask me, are you afraid that I have I'm genetically predisposed for Alzheimer's? And I know it. And I don't fear it at all.
Well, we know so much more now about lifestyle health habits, which is why I started the Health Conscious Living podcast. And because lifestyle health habits are key. I mean, they are a major percentage of our immune health and our wellness and our longevity and just generally being healthy. And we also know so much more now about epigenetics that we didn't know, say 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Even 3 years ago, right?
Well, there's that.
Yeah, even we are learning so much day by day about epigenetics. It's amazing.
Yes, as technology advances, so does our knowledge. So then what happened? You started your own company.
I did. I started my own company and, I focus on mostly women. I really focus in on those autoimmune symptoms. So many people have autoimmune symptoms and they're not necessarily diagnosed with autoimmune, right? And so they're just having all these symptoms. I'm like, okay, I love women. It's usually women, so many women in America have autoimmune symptoms or have been diagnosed with any autoimmune conditions and or type 2 diabetes. Those are kind of my ideal clients. Mm-hmm. And so I started this program and I had something like I was on a webinar. I'm going to get teary-eyed. I was on a webinar and so people were asking about, the program, right? And it hit me because we were talking about, we get results, anybody who's telling anything, they want to know about results, right? And I'm a walking result, but when you start talking about your clients and then all of a sudden I had this moment and that's when everything felt like it finally pulled together in my life. I have been in the wellness business from mindset up until cellular wellness, where I have run so many programs. And as a doctor, I'm sure you've tried so many different things, right? And you always want the best results for your clients. Mm-hmm. But this is the first program I've ever done that I've had 100% result.
Amazing
result. And every day I get up and I'm like, I know my purpose. Like I literally, it's exciting to get up. It's exciting to know, who do I get to help next?
Beautiful.
And I had never felt that, it took a 20-year span and my own health journeys. And it's so funny. And I say this and I say this in kind of jest because you don't want to manifest too much out there, right? But it's like, okay, God, the universe, I'm listening. Please, I know how to take care of my body now and my mind. We don't need any more incidents. I now know my purpose is to really help people overcome these life-threatening chronic illnesses without big pharma, without, more naturally getting, and education, teaching them and having fun with them, because I think that's a big part of it. Not everything has to be serious.
Absolutely not.
When my doctor said to me, I don't care if you pray to a cat or a damn rock, he laughed.
One of the things that you shared with me when we spoke before was you've been through this profound healing journey, looking back, connecting all the dots. It all led you to today, to here, and to this moment of fulfillment in your purpose in your life, soul to body and life. And you have this joy. We talked about this inherent joy that you wake up with. So tell us about that.
I'll be honest, Gail, it changes all the time because,
Sure.
like I do wake up joyful and I want people to feel joy. And I did not put my vision board close to me, but I can always grab it. So I want to exude joy to people. I think that's a big part of who I am and who I've become, is because I know that there's more. There's more. Like you guys, if I almost died a couple of times, there's more.
Yes. And you've got a second chance and a third chance.
And even almost a fourth chance, right? Mm-hmm. And I am so grateful every single day. I think that gratitude, I wake up with gratitude every day. I have my morning routine where I kind of read and pray and put my intention out there for the day. And it's always to even bring more joy to people. Like, I want to be happy. I don't want people to ever hop on my Facebook page and go, oh my gosh, this is the most miserable person out there.
Right.
Because you see that in the social media, you see that, right? And even the best coaches, sometimes you'll see this thing that and I'm like, oh boy, So when I go live and when I'm on Facebook and when I'm with people, I want them to feel my energy. I want them to feel like, man, I've been given this life, whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, it's all connected to me, whatever it is, it's in us and it's through us and it shines. And I think that's where, for me, it shines. And I think that's where my joy comes from is, this is good. People, and I think most people are good. And I'm not saying there's not bad people out there, but I think the most of us that, we're good and we need to bring that out in others. And I think that's part of my purpose as well. And even since we had our last conversation, I ended up doing something I didn't know if I'd ever go back to, but I had run a women's networking group for 7 years. And I had stepped aside only because I opened the wellness center. There was a lot, sometimes you need to let go so you can have more, right? And I started my chapter back up of this women's networking. And I had 24 beautiful souls for lunch in my home the other day. And I have 26 coming for dinner tomorrow night. And, I'm meeting these women online, a lot of them online. And I'm like, just come, it's so different than anything it's not like, some of the traditional networking, because women network differently than men. And so I'm like, just come. And my dear friend was here for the first one. And she's like, Nicole, when you stood in front of that room, she says, that's where your speaker comes out. You find so much joy in being surrounded by women. And I love men. I have an amazing husband, but for whatever reason, I know that my impact, that is where it really is. And that I'm here to truly help women live a healthier and joyful life. That's really my purpose.
And right now, that's so necessary because there's a movement, there's an awakening in women and the world. So that is exceptional that you're doing that. How can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook. I'm Nicole Marie Lanni on Facebook, or you can find me at Cellular Health and Wellness.com. I know it's a long one, but that's where I am. And I have a cooking show called The Good Vibes Cooking Show. And we've only released 8 episodes. It's really about healthy cooking and having fun in the kitchen at the same time. And that is on YouTube. So it's The Good Vibes Cooking Show.
Oh, fabulous. And before we go, you have so much wisdom. What 3 things would you like to leave the audience with?
Oh, that's a great question. 3 things I'd like to leave the audience with. The first thing is our life is precious.
Mm.
Yeah, it is precious. And we take life for granted sometimes, like our days. And for those of us who have had any health issues, life is precious.
It truly is.
Yeah.
And I had that experience I've shared in earlier podcasts that, when I realized I had survived the accident, it's like, oh, life is a gift, a precious gift, and especially the people in it.
People you surround yourself with, that's all part of it, but life is really precious. Don't take it for granted. Really don't take that for granted. The second thing is you're powerful. Everybody is powerful, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, or you think you're less than or more than or whatever, you're powerful. If people realize that they have the ability, the power to not only be a good person or a great person, but we all have the ability to help other people in some way, even if we don't realize it.
Beautiful.
So that would be the second thing. The third thing is listen to your body, because it speaks to you. And when you learn to listen to your body, you're going to have it has such an impact where it really will lead you down to the right road of being healthier and having that joy. Because once you're healthy, the joy really shines through us.
Absolutely. When you say hello to your inner light, your inner being, you shine. I often talk to my patients about listen to your body and then respond.
Right.
So if you were to say to your body and put your hands on your heart and say, I love you, body, what do you need right now? And listen. Most of the time they say rest. Like, what's the one word that comes to you? I would like to invite you right now. I love you, body. What do you need right now?
I love you, body. What do you need right now? Oh, interesting what it says.
And
it says connection.
Oh, beautiful.
That's so funny. It needs more connection. And that's the thing I work on every day, which is funny because it's telling me that that's the first thing that came to my head. So your body knows what it needs. Yes. Sometimes, if I did that first thing in the morning, it'd probably say water.
Right. Right. And it's so fun. And then when you validate that and listen and respond, then the body responds. Mm-hmm. And the response is so powerful. So thank you for sharing that. And may your connections continue to amplify. And I am grateful to know you and to have met you in March and to have this connection.
I am so grateful, Gayle. This has been such a joy. And so Gayle and I sat next to each other at an event, and I just felt that pull, when you meet somebody and sometimes you just feel that pull, and that's how I felt. So this has just been amazing. And, getting to know you has been amazing. We have a lot of interesting, those things woven together. So it's fabulous. And I really appreciate you having me on your show today. And I can't wait to even, further our connection as well.
Thank you. I am too excited to see you soon. Thank you. And bye for now.
Bye.